Today, we're going to talk about an event that left a deep scar on America, Hurricane Katrina. But this was so much more than just a natural disaster. In this explainer, we're going to break down how a monster storm turned into a man-made catastrophe and what that tells us about the country itself. Let's start with just one number, around 1,800. That's the estimated number of people who lost their lives. Before we get into the wind speeds or the floodwaters, it's so important to just sit with that number for a second, to really understand the human reality of what happened.
But here's the thing. That number, as devastating as it is, doesn't even tell the whole story. What happened in August of 2005 wasn't just a tragedy caused by high winds and rain. No, it was a story of systemic failure where human error and neglect turned a really powerful storm into a national catastrophe.
Okay, so let's set the scene. It's the Gulf Coast, August 2005. A massive storm, Hurricane Katrina, is churning in the water, gaining strength, and it's heading straight for land.
And make no mistake, Katrina was an absolute behemoth. This wasn't just another storm in hurricane season. It was one of the most powerful and one of the most expensive hurricanes to ever hit the United States. The damage it caused was just unprecedented.
So that power brings up the big question, right? The question that really drives this whole story. I mean, a hurricane hitting the coast is one thing, but how does that lead to a major American city like New Orleans being almost completely submerged? The answer, as it turns out, wasn't just in the sky.
You see, the real turning point of this disaster wasn't the storm itself. It was the failure of the very structures that were built to protect New Orleans. We are talking about the levees.
Now, just as a quick refresher, a levee is basically an embankment, kind of like a wall, that's built to keep a river or a lake from overflowing. For a city like New Orleans, where a lot of it is actually below sea level, this levee system is the absolute critical line of defense.
And this is where the heart of the tragedy really lies. The purpose of these levees was simple: keep the water out. The reality? A complete catastrophic failure. And what's really crucial here is that many of these levees broke after the worst of the hurricane had already passed the city.
This is the key takeaway. Those images you've seen of a flooded New Orleans, that's not just rainwater. That is the result of catastrophic breaks in the levee system, which let billions of gallons of water from Lake Pontchartrain just pour into the city. It was a failure of design, of construction, and of maintenance, a complete engineering failure. And the consequence of that failure was immediate and absolutely devastating. And this, of course, brings us to the immense human cost. Let this number sink in for a minute. 80%. At the peak of the flooding, 80% of New Orleans was underwater. Just think about that. Entire communities just submerged. The statistics are just heartbreaking. We go back to that first number, around 1,800 people dead. But beyond that, hundreds of thousands of people were displaced. They were scattered all across the country, and many of them never returned. Entire neighborhoods were just gone.
The aftermath of Katrina really forced the entire country to look in the mirror. This disaster stopped being a local tragedy and became a national wake-up call.
What those floodwaters revealed was a nation that was shockingly unprepared for a catastrophe on this scale. The event exposed these deep vulnerabilities in everything from our infrastructure to our government's ability to respond.
You can really break down the failures into three big areas. First, the emergency response on the ground was tragically slow and disorganized. Second, the disaster put a harsh spotlight on the fragile state of America's most critical infrastructure. And finally, it revealed a staggering lack of preparedness at every single level of government, local, state, and federal. And so, that's where we're left today. We've seen the storm, the engineering failure, the human cost, and the lessons that were supposedly learned. But the story doesn't just end in 2005. It leaves us with this lingering, vital question. Nearly 2 decades have passed. After everything that was lost and everything that we supposedly learned, we have to ask, are we truly prepared for the next one?